It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get to Joe's today and do yourself a little bit of racing. It's got a great day lined up. We have a great day lined up for you today. Not only are we going to be covering some amazing racing information during the show today, but then coming up at about 11 a.m., 10:30, you can head over to Joe's Karting, do a little bit of pre-Daytona racing, get that blood circulating, come over to Quaker Steak and Lube, enjoy the Daytona 500, the Great American Race. I'm going to be there about 11:30. Dirk, I know you're working on getting there sometime about the same time. We're just going to get set up. We got a lot of prizes we're going to be giving away today at Quaker Steak and Lube for the Daytona 500 viewing party. You can win them. You can be a part of the Pick'ems contest. All you got to do is stop by Quaker Steak and Lube. Now, I mentioned the Pick'ems contest. You must be signed up by 1 p.m. today. And, Dirk, how good does that feel? It's race day.
After watching the Advanced Auto Parts Clash, I'm more than anxious. And, I mean, we had to record early, so we haven't got to the twin 150s yet. But it would have been nice to be able to wait till Friday, but time constraints don't work for us that way.
We had an opportunity to sit down with Gary Porter of Monster Jam, the driver of the Carolina Crusher, who's going to be at the Mid-America Center. We had an opportunity to sit down with him on Tuesday, so we just took advantage of the opportunity. And plus, trying to record on a Friday at a radio station is just tough. So, yeah, unfortunately, we recorded the show before the Can-Am duels that went on Thursday night, so we don't have results from that. But the Clash was pretty amazing, even though it was delayed to the next day. And do you think that had something to do with it? All those cars were set up for cooler temperatures, a tackier track, better grip, and yet they had to race that opening segment on a very loose they all had very loose vehicles, which added for excitement, I think.
Well, the only person that was exciting was JJ. Seven-time got loose and took Kurt Busch out, then got loose and took himself out.
Seven-time turned into six-time because that's the sixth straight time he has retired from the Clash early.
Yes, that is almost remarkable, and he doesn't have a fantastic record for anything in restrictor plates. That's,
right.
The guy's a great driver, obviously, with 7 championships, but what Dale Earnhardt is to restrictor plate racing, JJ is not to restrictor plate racing.
You don't win 7 championships by being good at only going to 4 of the tracks on the circuit. Majority of the tracks on the circuit are your speedways, your mile and a halves, and that's where he makes his money, and that's where he's made his championships, and you can't fault him for that. If that's where the majority of the races land, that's where you focus your attention, your setups, and your talent. But yeah, the Clash was pretty amazing to watch. I want to bring up one of the topics, so we'll get to the topics here in a second, but let's go through the show lineup. Turn number 1, we're going to talk about some of the news and notes throughout the week and what you could expect today at the Daytona 500. Turn number 2, we're going to talk with Gary Porter, driver of Carolina Crusher, who's going to be at the Mid-America Center for Monster Jam on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You can get your tickets now at the Mid-America Center box office, Ticketmaster.com, or by calling 1-800-745-3000. Turn number 3, we are going to talk about Chad's top 10 bold predictions. Chad Robb, who joins us on the show frequently, racingfantasytips.com. He published an article earlier this week, 10 bold predictions for 2017. I think he's out on the loony bin on a couple of them. I think he's right on a couple of other ones. We're going to talk about those.
That's why they're called bold predictions.
And then it turned I think he had himself a lube tube when he was coming up with some of these predictions. But then turn number 4, we're going to talk about the Daytona 500 party, everything you can win, everything you possibly need for today's event down at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Did you happen to catch the video that was out this week with Brad Keselowski cruising Daytona pits?
That's pretty cool.
That's real cool. He's done that a couple times.
Yeah.
I've seen Carl do it.
Right.
A couple of these young drivers have done, but Brad seems to do it more than anybody. And as a fan for you, always carries a case of beer with him. So,
unfortunately, it's the wrong beer for my flavor.
You would suffer through it if Brad showed up to drink it with you.
You're probably right. Okay, let's talk about the Clash results. One of the big news stories that came out was Kyle Larson was retired early from the Clash with 14 to go, and he was a little upset because, and a lot of fans were too, because his car didn't suffer a lot of damage, yet he was not allowed to go out. And I think there was a little bit of confusion, especially on social media where confusion runs rampant. Kyle wasn't retired because of the damage on his car. Kyle's crew broke one of the new damaged car policy rules, and that is too many men over the wall, you go back to the garage.
You're done. Yep. No exceptions.
This was one of the, and I want to stress this, for as much as you may hate the damaged car policy rule, this was strongly pushed for by the Drivers' Council and by the RTA, the Owners' Council, because they were tired of the debris cautions and sending guys over the wall to fix cars that had no business being out there. When you send 7, 8 guys, let's go through a scenario. You're a season contender for a championship, and you have a bad luck at a racetrack, and you damage your car pretty heavily. You've got, how many guys sit in the pits for those guys? 5 go over the wall, but there's probably 7, 8 guys?
6 guys go over the wall.
I thought it was just 5.
Nope. Gas
Okay.
man, jack man, and 2 men for the tires.
Got it?
Jack.
Okay.
Okay.
6
over the wall.
Hang on, let me count that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 6.
Got to use your other hand, Dan.
Well, I pulled off my shoe. I was counting with my toes.
Yeah, 6 over the wall. Used to be 7, but they got rid of the catch can man on the gas several years ago. Okay, 6 guys over the wall.
Teams said, when we send guys, because here's the strategy. When a car gets damaged, send as many guys over the wall to make repairs, because we're already behind as it is. We might as well get it fixed as fast as possible, suffer the penalty, which is going to be less than sending fewer guys over the wall. So if they sent the legal amount of 6 guys over the wall to fix the car and didn't get penalized, they feel that the damage, the repairs would be done in...
They'll be better off taking the penalty.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Same as if they were speeding down pit road before. They would do that to get to their pit box ASAP to get to work on the car. Can't do that anymore either.
Now, when NASCAR came out with this damage policy and they told the teams said, you got to be stronger on the guys over the wall penalty, because if I can send 30 guys over the wall to make the repairs in that 5-minute window, you better believe I'm going to do it. But 30 guys working on a car on a busy pit road, somebody's going to get run over. And that's going to be a tragic day. So NASCAR came out with the policy and said, okay, good call. No speeding on pit road and no too many guys over the wall. If you do either of those, your day is done. Actually, the speeding penalty is a
15 seconds off their 5-minute repair time.
Is a time deduction. And the too many men over the wall, Kyle Larson's crew sent 7 guys over the wall. Now, the confusion, and I think where Larson's team has some clout, I've got a little bit of grief with NASCAR, is that some of the damaged car policies were implemented or were enforced during the clash, while others were not. The 5-minute repair clock was not enforced that day, and teams were notified of that. So Kyle Larson and his crew, and I'm drawing a blank on his crew chief's name right now, but they were both kind of, hey, what penalties or what rules were enforced, what ones weren't. We were confused on it, so we shouldn't have been penalized. But during that drivers' meeting, I'm pretty sure all that stuff was covered. It's just like, I love it when these guys are like, well, I didn't know that, so I shouldn't be penalized. Well, just because you didn't know it, we covered it.
Hey,
you should have been paying attention.
Having stood in front of the guy in the black robe and told him one time I couldn't see the speed limit sign, he said, son, ignorance is no excuse. So, yeah.
So Kyle Larson's crew wasn't penalized for having too damaged of a car. It was because they sent too many guys over the wall. And that's a rule that is going to be strictly enforced from today on. NASCAR is really starting to buckle down on a lot of these safety things that teams, this level of communication that we've been talking about for the last couple of months. Crews, teams, drivers communicating up to NASCAR and saying, hey, we see this being an issue. Can you create a rule so that safety gets reined in a little bit? And I'm telling you, the communication between NASCAR and the teams has been amazing the last couple of months.
Well, everybody knows the product's in trouble.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
everybody,
I agree.
and you and I know from reading our Facebook posts and all the haters that are out there right now with this sport. The sport is in a bad spot right now. So they are doing anything and everything. They're grasping at every opportunity to improve the sport.
Well, how awesome is it that they're being proactive with this stuff? How many times in the old days, the 70s, the 80s, even into the 90s, and sadly enough into the 2000s, did it take somebody dying or being severely injured before NASCAR would implement something? Now they're being more proactive about things.
Well, and again, it's not necessarily NASCAR. Like you said, the drivers, wanted this. The owners wanted it. So it wasn't as much NASCAR as it was everybody else saying, hey, look at this. Just as the same way when NASCAR didn't care if they put 5 lug nuts on or not. And a few racers said, oh, no. Especially your favorite guy who's not going to be around this year. Now he can complain all he wants.
Yeah, he could complain all he wanted to before. He just got fined for it. Now I don't think they can fine him.
Oh, yeah, he's a car owner. So, yeah.
Oh, they can fine him. They can still fine him.
That's why I was checking myself there. I got to be careful. But, I mean, we're talking about all this safety. I mean, something that very few people think about. I know I always do because I've spent so many times in the pits at dirt tracks, but look at the incident that happened down at Volusia this week with the sprint car getting over the catch fence and into the pits.
Yeah.
Flipping, and 3, not necessarily spectators or crewmen. It's hard telling because a lot of spectators go stand in the pits too.
Yeah.
But 3 people got hurt, And
boy, that could have been much worse.
Oh, it could have been 3 people got killed. Could have been 10 people got killed.
It could have been. I mean, if that was a busy pits,
it's a busy pits, but
that could have been far worse. Everyone got very lucky, and I think that's something that it's a conversation for another day. But continue with your thought.
Well, when we were talking about safety and stuff,
Yeah.
Now they're going to relook at their situation. But, I mean, I've seen some of these tracks where I go, wow, this is really nice down here. I really feel safe. And I go to other tracks and I'm going, this ain't so good. But, you just stay on your toes and keep your head on a swivel and you never turn your back to the race cars.
Some more news and notes. Barring anything weird that happens at the Clash, Chase Elliott is on the pole for today's race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts to his outside. And our boy, Brendan Gaughan, has been locked into the Daytona 500. I couldn't decide if that was talent or luck that got him in because, we have that front stretch luck that we like to bring these guys. Well, it's about time we paid off for BG.
Yeah, I mean, he was the fastest of the 6 cars trying to qualify. But the one thing I noticed, and I mean, I noticed it last year too, I don't think we ever talked about it, however many cars go down there try and qualify, you got the 36
that are locked in on the charter.
You used to have 50, 55 cars down there every year trying to qualify because the race paid so much to start. And granted, there were 43 spots. So they cut out 3 spots. So now everybody else back from 36 on back, before you had some guys with provisionals and, they had past champions provisionals and all that kind of stuff. All the extra guys are racing now just for 4 spots instead of where they were racing for 7 spots before. If we'd have had 43 cars starting the field, I'll guarantee you somebody would have pulled a backup on it and thrown a driver in it bought a number and qualified in that 43rd spot just for the $250,000 to start.
Yeah, this race is different because I think there was 40. You said there were 6 cars that weren't qualified, so that
42 cars showed up.
Okay, and that was actually lower than I was hearing because there's a lot of guys that are working on getting cars going for the year. I think we're going to consistently have closer to 43 cars competing for the 40-car field this year. But the cost of these cars is something else that NASCAR is trying to work with the teams to rein it in so that we can have more cars attempting. We can get back to that 50 cars that are attempting to qualify each race weekend.
Yeah, but this 42nd, 43rd, 44th cars that are going to show up are going to be having used equipment from other teams that they bought. So NASCAR can't control that cost.
Yeah.
They can't control any of that when you're buying used cars and leasing engines. Like Brendan said, he might not have done it if he didn't know the guy he called and checked when the guy said he was going to have RCR engines. He said, okay, well, I'll check on that. And he did. And so that's why he went. And that's what got him in the show.
Yeah. Well, that's huge at Daytona, especially for qualifying. Brendan could have very well known, when you're out there single car qualifying, you've got to have an engine behind you that can get you up to speed much better than everybody else. Otherwise, you're going to be lagged back down in those lower RPMs trying to get up to speed, and you're never going to get qualified. So that could have been Brendan's strategy. Once you get into the draft, I don't think your horsepower comes into his play as much as quality of engine and being able to keep that engine cool.
Well, it does come into play because it's such a big deal when you're trying to pass, whether you're going to try and push somebody or where you got somebody be pushed. You hear it all the time during the race, and we'll hear it this afternoon. There'll be some guys that'll be saying, I just don't lead very well, or I'm trying to push him, but he just can't push. But when he's behind me, we go like crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's one of the things. That's where horsepower does play a big deal, because if you're down 15, 20 horsepower, you're not going to win the race because you can't lead it. You can't get to the front. And that's what it's all about. Now, the nice thing with these twin 150s, now Brendan's starting, was it 17th row? No, 17th position in the first 125.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 21 in each one. And he could win the thing because I'll guarantee you Chase Elliott's going to run about 5 laps and pull off because he ain't going to damage his car. He's starting on the pole no matter what happens. He'll go out and maybe draft for a little bit from the front, and he's going to call it a quit. He might run a whole few runs.
Because isn't it if he wrecks his car, he doesn't get the pole? He has to then go to the back of the field because he's now
backup.
with a backup car. So that's the risk for him. That's kind of why I said barring any catastrophes during the Clash. Elliott and Earnhardt are one too.
Well, it's not the Clash; it's the 150s.
Sorry,
the Twins. So Can-Am 150s. Clash already done. That was a they even use separate cars for that.
I'm so excited. I'm getting all my races confused, Dirk.
But no, it's a good deal for Brendan. I don't really like the rule that got him in. There's 6 cars racing for 4 spots, and the 2 fastest ones automatically lock in. Didn't used to be like that, man. Who's ever left got to go out there and run those 150s. But, I like Brendan, so I'm glad he's in.
Yep. Good for him.
Hopefully he puts an in-car camera in because he's entertaining. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's not driving his familiar number 62, so everybody that, knows Brendan and pays attention to him on a show, and he's driving a car number 75. So, good luck to him.
Absolutely.
Hopefully he makes it through the Can-Ams and gets a decent starting spot because I was trying to get a hold of him. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm trying to get a hold of him to see what his plan's going to be for the 500 because I want to watch it develop. I want to know if he's going to go to the back and hang out with the second draft, the 30th through 40th place cars and run around the track and then race at the end, or whether he's going to try and stay in the lead pack and mix it up.
Be interesting to see. One of the other news stories that kind of went around the headlines this week was Dale Earnhardt Jr. has notified Hendrick Motorsports he wants to wait a couple of months into the season before starting to talk about contract extensions. Is this concerning to you that we may not see Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a car in 2018?
He's got enough money, and now he's got a wife. Maybe he's going to start a family and concentrate on ownership,
So does it concern you that he may not be in the car? I mean, because that could be a big blow to NASCAR's fan base.
No, see, I don't think it will. He's still the most popular driver, and that's just because of his name.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that would destroy the sport at all.
Okay.
I really don't.
I think it'll hurt it a little bit, but in the end it will recover because somebody always comes in to fill that role. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is kind of a rarity. I mean, he's not a Richard Petty or a Tony Stewart or a Rusty Wallace where drivers said, okay, Rusty retired, I'm going to pick whoever filled in Rusty's car, I'm going to pick somebody else. Dale has been a family tradition for 30, 40 years. They loved his dad. They switched to Dale. I kind of wonder if this won't be the opportunity. They say, you know what, I'm not a big fan of NASCAR much anymore. I've been sticking with it because I love Dale. Now I'm going to walk away.
Yeah. See, I don't think you will just because they might not. Obviously, they're not going to buy any more Dale Earnhardt T-shirts.
Yeah. He'll probably still be the highest merchandising driver even after he retires.
He still might be the most popular driver.
And NASCAR might let him in just because they need to keep banking off of his name.
He won that title last year and didn't even race half the year. I mean, to me, that's like these guys in the NBA and the Major League Baseball where the fans vote for him. One guy played one game at one position, and he started in the All-Star game at that spot. But it is what it is.
Let's take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We'll sit down with Gary Porter, driver of Carolina Crusher. He's going to be at the Mid-America Center for the Monster Jam Truck Show coming up March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 2, and it's time to shift gears just a little bit from the Daytona 500, getting you all set for that, to what's coming up at the Council Bluffs, in Council Bluffs at the Mid-America Center. Monster Jam invades the Mid-America Center March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You can get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com, the Mid-America Center box office, or by calling 800-745-3000. Tickets for Saturday, the pit passes, 2 days, all kids passes, all sorts of stuff available at Ticketmaster.com, the Mid-America Center box office, or again, 800-475-3000. And joining us on the phone to get you set for that event, March 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Mid-America Center, is the driver of Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter. How you doing this morning, sir?
No, fine. How are you?
Oh, I am enjoying another beautiful day in the Midwest, although the weather can't quite decide what it's going to do. So you very well may get here on the 3rd. We'll have 70-degree weather, and then by the time you guys are done on the 5th, on Sunday the 5th, it could be snowing. Who knows? I mean, that's kind of the way the weather goes, right?
That's right. I understand that. That's the way it is back in North Carolina. But, looking forward to coming to Council Bluffs. And, I've never actually done that building, but I've done shows in the area there and looking forward to it.
Well, let me give you a little piece of advice. I've been to one show, and it was to the last year's event. I had an amazing time, but I'm going to tell you to think thin when you're inside that building because it is tight.
Well, I'm on an arena tour. We've been running in small buildings all year, and so I'm sure it's no smaller than some of the ones we've been in. And, the year's been going great. Back in the Carolina Crusher, something I started back in 1985. And, here I am still driving the Carolina Crusher, and a lot of fans out that way.
Take me back to that first time you went to a Monster Jam show. It was in Indianapolis. So what about that show inspired you to build Carolina Crusher?
Well, after I built my first monster truck, we took it to a show there in Indianapolis. It was my first event.
Okay.
And, I just took it out there and put it on display. At the time, there were like 30 monster trucks in the country, and that's where you took it to get recognized. And, there are just a couple of guys that was out there then that are still in the business. But, it's been good to me, and I still enjoy driving it. And, my brother and friends built the truck back in 1985, and I just assumed after a couple of years that the fad would be faded away, or I would just be tired of monster truck racing. And but I've been proven wrong so many times with that. I still enjoy doing it. The fans, it just continuously is growing. The attendance is more and more each and every year. And, it's incredible. I would have never have thought, I would still be doing this going on 32 years later.
It's truly exhilarating, and I think that's the best word I can use for it because, like I said, last January was my first monster truck event, and I was just jaw-dropped, thrilled the entire time. And in that Mid-America Center, to hear you guys take those trucks and get up on the wheel or get up on the RPMs and just haul through that thing was just, you turned into a little kid again.
I guess that's what I still do inside of the truck myself. And, but it is, we have, racing, wheelie contest, donut contest. Then, of course, what everybody comes to see is freestyle. Mm-hmm. And Council Bluffs will be the last tour of the first quarter that my tour is on, and so the points will be decided for the overall tour winner that weekend. So, you better believe everybody's going to have their A game out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because, when people talk about Monster Jam, they think all these big trucks just smashing cars, but kind of like you said there's a lot more to it, and there's technique that comes along with it.
Oh, absolutely, and, it's going to be down to the wire on who wins this points thing, and, I guarantee you they'll see a good show out there because, everybody wants to win it.
What's your ace up your sleeve to try to win one of these shows? If the pressure's on, do you have a freestyle trick that you like to pull out to make sure you win them?
Not really. I guess I've just been doing it so many years. I just sort of sit back, try to get relaxed, which is hard sometimes, and just go out there and put my best effort forward and do the best I can and, rely on the judges and the fans because, they have just started where the fans can download an app at the show and they can vote for the freestyle.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. They can actually vote in the freestyle, the wheelie contest, and the donut contest.
Yeah, it almost seems amazing. I went to a show, and actually I worked for the promoter selling T-shirts and stuff, and so I was hanging around with the drivers while they were doing an autograph signing and listening to a couple of them talking to each other, and they were talking. I know how loud those trucks are, and they were talking about being in the truck while they're performing their stunts. They could hear the crowd actually going crazy. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
It is. And, I'm looking up in the crowd to see if they're going to sleep or if they're standing up and down and, and cheering me on.
Take me back to the beginning of your career. I was reading an article, and you were talking about how when you got started, there was no harnesses, there was no fire extinguishers, no special seats, no fire suits. You ever look back and wonder how the heck you survived?
Oh, I do, and because we just took it was a 72 Chevrolet that I was driving on the street, and we had jacked it up and put 16 inches of lift on it and 44-inch tires, and it was sort of getting impractical, to drive on the road. And so that's when we had to brainstorm to buy some 66-inch tall tires and put some bigger axles under it. And that's pretty much what we've done, because I used the same body, 72 Chevrolet body on my first truck. I had the same bench seat in it, the same engine I was driving on the street, and we had a monster truck to crawl over cars, because that's what we done in the day. Was we just crawled over cars, and people were wowed just by a truck smashing cars.
Yeah, that's a great way to get into it. But then, you guys have evolved so much that really the car crushing aspect is pretty secondary now. It's about the race, and it's about the freestyles, the donut challenges, and all that stuff that comes up to it. It's a very competitive, bigger event now. I mean, it's grown into so much more, is what I'm trying to say.
It certainly has, and now with the hybrid track they're building in these arenas, it gives us several different options on what we can hit to get our different wheelies. How high we flying through the air, different angle on the ramps. The trucks. My first truck had like 2 inches of suspension travel. The truck I'm driving now has 30 inches of suspension travel. It's a tube frame. It's making about 1,500 horsepower. The first truck was probably about 300 horsepower. With all the safety stuff, not only for the drivers, but for the spectators as well. Our seats are specially built for each individual driver. And so when we strap in, we become a part of the vehicle.
How does it go through the pits? I mean, we're kind of like dirt track guys, but we cover NASCAR and everything. I've been to a lot of the big races. I was a former official. When something happens, I know you just had one of your drivers was recently injured. How big a deal is that to the rest of the guys? Is it a really tight-knit brotherhood like it is with the short track guys?
It is. Of course, I'm assuming you're talking about Dennis Anderson with the Gravedigger.
Yes.
And, him and I have been great friends, for ever since I got into monster trucks. He started a little bit, a couple of years before I did. But, and I've talked to him, and, everything's good. He's going to be fine. And we know that that's the risk, that we take, when we jump in these monster trucks.
Yeah, obviously, if you're doing something where people don't realize the jar and stuff that you guys get through your spine and everything when you land going off one of them ramps and you take 15 or 20 foot of air, that's a pretty good shock when you settle down.
It is, but, the trick is with these containment seats, for us to be strapped in tight, because really, it was a little different than driving down the highway in your vehicle without your seatbelt on and having a wreck. I can become a projectile, and you won't just stay strapped in there and tight, so you don't move around. And that is something that we were doing wrong for a number of years with the monster truck seats. And then I guess about 10 years ago, ISP, started building our seats and explaining to us and teaching us, why the seats that we were using was wrong. And if it hadn't been for the change in the seats, I probably wouldn't be driving today. It's
amazing the safety innovations and how sometimes when they come out with these, you kind of sit back and think, how didn't we do that before?
Actually, I can remember seeing the first ISP seat. I made the comment, there's no way you're going to put me in one of those seats. But after, a couple of years of watching other drivers take big jumps and talking about how good that seat rode and one thing and another, I was like, well, maybe old hard-headed Gary better try one of those. And so I did, and I'm like, it was incredible, the difference that just that seat made.
We're talking with Gary Porter. You could see him behind the wheel of Carolina Crusher as the Monster Jam invades Council Bluffs March 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Mid-America Center. Again, tickets on sale at the Mac box office or at Ticketmaster.com. Gary, outside of driving a Monster Jam truck and being Gary Porter, driver of the Carolina Crusher, you own a 117-acre farm in North Carolina, right?
Correct.
What do you farm, or is that just an acreage, something you get to kind of?
That's just pretty much a hobby deal. I run heavy equipment. When I'm not doing the monster truck thing, and I have I haul heavy equipment for other people also.
Okay. What's weather like in North Carolina right now? Can we be a little jealous?
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's definitely hadn't been wintertime.
Yeah.
Trees are starting to bloom out, and it sure doesn't feel like the 1st of March.
Oh, it's been 65, 70 degrees here the last couple of days, over 70 here this past weekend. So, but we're supposed to have snow coming up on Friday, 4 or 5 inches of snow. So it's going back to winter, I think.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Gary, when you travel around from city to city on the Monster Jam circuit, do you get an opportunity to go and explore some of the sites in those cities?
Very few, because, normally with my schedule, I'll fly in, the Thursday before and then starting Friday morning, at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll have, some type of PR to do, and they pretty much keep me busy. Friday, and then the show, a show Friday night, and then 2 shows Saturday, and a show Sunday, and then I normally, fly out first thing Monday morning. So it really doesn't give me much time to just leisurely, tour around the cities like I would like to.
Well,
that's too bad.
Bring your lucky boots, because you can walk 50 feet west of the arena. You're going to be you'll be in a casino. So.
There's several casinos over in that area. There's one of our big sponsors. It's a great wing shop. If you get an opportunity to go get some lunch over at Quaker Steak and Lube, I highly recommend it. Some of the best wings in our area. Cool. And then if you get even more time, one of the prides of this area is the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo.
Yeah, but even closer to his heart, though, is just north of the arena, within a quarter mile, is Joe's Karting,
oh, yes.
Another monster sponsor for our show. And they've got the little Eco Honda go-kart engines in these things. These things scoot in an indoor track. It's a lot of fun.
So it sounds like it.
If you're good, you can get up to about 45 or 50 miles an hour.
Wow, I might have to check that out. That would be fun there.
Gary Porter, you can catch him at the Mid-America Center March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, driving Carolina Crusher. Gary, we love talking to you. Good luck at the Monster Jam shows in Council Bluffs for the Mid-America Center. I can't wait to see you on Friday night. That's when I plan on going.
All right, well, I certainly appreciate it, and I would like to invite everybody to come out, and it's going to be an awesome show, and look forward to seeing you.
Are you going to be doing any meet and greets those weekends? I know there's the pit party, and then usually there's driver meet and greets.
Right. We all have, if I'm not mistaken, 2 pit parties, one Saturday morning and then one Sunday morning before the shows. And then, of course, after each and every show, we always do an autograph session where, we'll stay as long as it takes to sign autographs for the fans after the event.
That's awesome. We love it when drivers do that. Gary Porter, good luck, bud. Thanks a lot for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Again, catch him at the Mid-America Center March 3rd, 4th, and 5th for the Monster Jam. Here's the schedule. Friday night, March 3rd, 7 p.m. showtime. Saturday, 1 p.m. showtime, 7 p.m. showtime, and then there's a pit party 10:30 to noon. And then he kind of talked about usually there's a pit party on Sunday. There's not one at the Mid-America Center show. It's just going to be a Sunday 1 o'clock show. So you can get your tickets in advance, $15, $20, $32, $42, plus some convenience fees that, they love to stick you with. Ticketmaster.com. I'm such a nice guy. Mid-America Center box office or 1-800-745-3000. I got to tell you, Dirk, I think you and I were texting about it last time when I was there in January. I was really surprised at how much fun I had at that event. Well, it really has evolved past just crushing cars, and it's turned into something so much more.
Well, I saw the original Bigfoot. Bigfoot came up a couple years back at the old auto show down at the Civic Auditorium, like 81 or 82, somewhere around there, maybe 83. And did some car crushing right in the middle of the arena, and we had a car on display, and we were 20 foot away getting shattered glass out of the windows of the cars. It was crushing, bouncing off our couple $1,000 paint job. Boy, weren't real happy about that. But, so I've seen them a lot. And, now the deal, it's not crushing cars. It's doing all the other stuff, and that's why these guys get these things up on the back tires and twist them around, kind of like we talked about Rico when he won the Chili Bowl a year ago, and he got up on the back tires and was doing a little twirly bird deal there. The big trucks will do that.
It's really amazing what these guys can do.
They do
with
back
those
flips.
Huge trucks.
Back flips.
In the bigger arenas, there was, I can't remember who did it, but there was a double back flip. He was the first one to ever do a double back flip. in a monster truck, and it was just insane. I bet if Anthony Ainsley was here, he could tell us all about it because that kid is a freak about monster jams, and he understands value. He'll be there. I'm trying to go on Friday because I leave Saturday morning, March 4th, to go down to Austin and see a friend of mine. So I'm trying to go Friday night, trying to get all my nieces and nephews together. But man, I had such a great time. I can't wait to go back in it. And unfortunately, if I miss the Mid-America Center show coming up March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, there's a Lincoln Pinnacle Bank Arena show. I believe it's middle of April.
Yeah, I was going to say theirs is normally later, but it had to be because Council Bluffs was normally the first weekend of January. It has been for the last several years.
Last year it was freezing, and I was still having a great time. I mean, I was frozen, but I did not want to leave because I was having such a great time.
Well, like I said, it was always the first weekend of January because I'd been buying my grandson and his parents tickets for the last 5 years for Christmas. But another thing you can do that I don't see on our little cheat sheet here is normally, and for the last, as long as they've had it at the Mac Center, you can go to Casey's and get some discount tickets. They're like $5 off a seat.
Yeah, I don't see any of those descriptions, so maybe they don't have that ability this year. But
I think I heard it on the radio though, so that's why I was mentioning.
Maybe that is the case. But Mid-America Center box office, Ticketmaster.com, or by phone 1-800-745-3000. I can almost guarantee you're going to have a great time if you go. Take your girlfriend, take your wife, take your husband, boyfriend, take them both. If you've got both of them, I'm sure they'll get along at the Mid-America Center, and the kids are going to have a ball, and it's a lot of fun. It's truly an awesome time. I cannot wait to go again, as if you can't tell. I'm just so pumped up for today. It's the Daytona 500. It's Great American Race. It's the Daytona Day at Quaker Steak and Lube, and we got the Mid-America Center Monster Jam show coming up in just a couple of weeks. We're going to take a break. We'll come back at turn number 3. We will talk about Chad Robb, FantasyRacingTip.com, his 10 bold predictions for 2017. We'll cover a couple of them. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Hey, Dan, if you go over on March 3rd on Friday, since the truck show starts at 7, does that mean Quaker State starts at about 5?
You mean lube tubing? Pre-gaming? That will depend on if I take my nieces and nephews.
I mean, monster trucks really don't have tailgates, so we can't call it tailgating.
True. We'll have to figure out it. Wheeling it? Because they have a wheeler there. Remember the four-wheeler? It's their 4 appetizers in one plate. We'll have to do some sort of a pregame at Quaker Steak. But definitely, that's a great time. And that's always, I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
It's only 2 weeks away.
I know. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
There is no such thing as an off-season at Joe's Karting. No matter how cold it is outside or how much snow is on the ground, you'll always be warm and dry inside at Joe's Karting, the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Located in Council Bluffs on 23rd Avenue next to AMC Theater. Find Joe's Karting on Facebook or head to joeskarting.com for hours, pricing, and a schedule of booked parties. That's joeskarting.com. Karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's Karting today and find out what all your friends already know.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 3. And it's time to talk about Chad Robb, Mr. Fantasy. You can find him online, fantasyracingtips.com. Fantasyracingtips.com. Chad posted an article earlier this week, 10 bold predictions for the 2017 NASCAR season. I wanted to cover a couple of them. Again, you can head over to NASCARFantasyTips.com and get more information on, and get the other ones that we don't cover, because there's a couple of them I think he's a little off his rocker, and there's other ones I think he nailed it like a good sniper. Number 10, one of them I thought was kind of crazy, but I think he's close to being spot on with this. Hendrick Motorsports announces Kyle Larson will drive the number 5 in 2018. Chad seems to think that Casey Kane will no longer be behind the wheel of the 5. Again, this is just speculation. I'm afraid people are going to be tuning in right now going, wait, what? Kyle Larson's in the 5 in 2018? This is speculation, but the only thing that holds me up is that Rick Hendrick has shown his loyalty to his drivers at times. Extreme loyalty. Times when people said he should be given up on, they should be tossed aside. And Casey has clearly struggled. Of course, anybody can say, compared to the other Hendrick Motorsports drivers, there's always going to be a fourth driver, somebody that struggled. But Casey has struggled mightily. Went winless, I believe, for the last 2 years. I don't think he got a win in 2015. And they've seen quite a few changes. They've made a lot of changes over there to try to get Casey going again. I think just simply the problem is that Casey's just not jiving with the organization over there.
Well,
and
I honestly think if you look just at the simple fact of when he had his boy and, he's always doing stuff with his kid, I think that changed the way he drives. I really do.
You think it calmed him down, took kind of that aggression out of him?
Yeah, I do.
And I would love to see Kyle Larson in a top ride because I think that's what he's missing. People put all the time during the fantasy contest, during the Pick'ems contest, Kyle Larson to win today, Kyle Larson to win today. And I just keep saying to myself, sometimes I say it to them, I don't think he's there yet. He's talented enough. Right. He has trouble finishing the race. And I think most of the time when he has trouble finishing the race, it's because of his equipment isn't keeping up with him. He's a little too aggressive. Because how many times have we heard Kyle Larson into the outside wall? He just kissed it coming off the corner there. Well, as fine-tuned as these machines are, you kiss anything and your day's gotten a lot harder.
Well, and that's got nothing to do with his equipment, though. I mean, that's like, Brendan Gaughan was telling us about his Buddy Baker story. When I hit the wall at Darlington 12 laps, and he goes, son, you think you can take it easy on that wall for a couple laps? I mean...
Well, but I think the equipment is what's holding Kyle back more than anything else, in what's stopping him from being one of the top-notch drivers, from being a playoff contending driver to being a championship contender. I think it's his equipment at Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah, see, and I don't agree with that because I think the equipment is so even, across the top 20 to 25 teams, especially these teams that are in conjunction with somebody. Believe me, Ganassi's got enough money. If there's a better part, he's going to buy it. So I don't think that's a big deal. Now, the engineering aspect could be lagging a little behind. It definitely is in Roush. And I'll guarantee you Roush has the best equipment, but they don't have a top 10 car in the field this year, at any track as far as I'm concerned. Either one of their drivers are not top 10 drivers. Mm-hmm. It's sad to say about Roush, but that's just the way it is. Biffle could have been a top 10 driver if he'd have stayed back because he's been there before. But the two they've got now are not top 10 drivers, even though Trevor Baynes won the 500. I mean, flukes happen, and when he won it, he was. So far, he's been a one-hit wonder. It took Michael Waltrip 462 or 63 races, whatever it was, before he won the 500, and then he won two of them in 10 years. So I don't think Larson's equipment is bad. He gets to the end of the race, and I don't know if he just, drives over his head, but he just doesn't finish. He practices in the top 5. He qualifies in the top 5. When it comes race day, he starts in the top 5 and gets a lot of DNFs or crashes out late, gets a lot of damage and is several laps down.
Well, and again, I don't think his equipment is bad. I just think that's the key that's holding him back. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me when I say that Hendrick Motorsports, Stewart-Haas Racing, Penske have better equipment and better engineers. I put engineers into that equipment category. I should have specified that, than Chip Ganassi does. I think oftentimes Hendrick is able to roll off the hauler with a much better car, while Chip Ganassi and Kyle Larson are playing catch-up. And, when Hendrick has three of their cars in the top 10, while Ganassi has their 2 cars are having a tough time breaking into the top 15, that tells me it's equipment. And I think Kyle's talented enough. He's proven it. I think he's pushing that organization farther than they're able to go because of his talent. I would not be surprised to see that, him heading over to Hendrick Motorsports. But then you remember back to that article or that conversation he had where when he was having conversations with all these Cup teams about signing deals, the ending of the conversation was, how much money are you bringing to the table? And Chip Ganassi was the only one that didn't demand he brought money to the table or he brought sponsorship dollars to the table. They had it all set up for him, so that's the reason why he signed. It sounds to me like Hendrick is going to have a sponsorship package ready to go for Kyle Larson before he'll sign that deal because he's certainly not going to bring a bunch of money with him.
Well, and you don't know. Now that he's established, he might be able to bring some money with him.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be Target. Target's been with Ganassi forever, and, I mean, if you read the business plays, Target's been in trouble the last 2 years. They've lost a lot of money. Their sales are way down. Who knows how much longer Target will be in any of the sports.
Oh, They're pulling out of IndyCar. They told Chip Ganassi they're pulling out IndyCar. But any brick and mortar store is suffering, especially when it comes to Amazon doing as much sales. I mean, I used to go to Target every day. Now I go to Target once, twice, 3 times a year, just simply because it's much easier to order things for cheaper on my phone. But that's a whole different conversation.
Read the business page. Conservative USA says Target sales are down because they allow men to go into women's restrooms.
Conservative USA. Let's take that for good news sources. I'll take that just as much as I'll take OccupyDemocrats.com as a good news source. But anyways, let's move on to one of the other bullet points. We're talking about Mr. Fantasy Chad Robb's 10 bold predictions for 2017. He says Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez will make the playoffs. Dirk, what say you?
I think out of those two, I think Eric Jones has the better shot.
I agree.
But I really don't look for either one of those two to win a race. So if they make it in, it'll be on the points.
Mm-hmm.
But I do look for these two young studs. If they're in the top 3 and there's 2 laps to go at lap 58 or 59 at Daytona, they're going to try and win the segment, which is a lot of things I don't think a lot of the veteran drivers are going to try quite as hard to do. But I think these young guns are really going to go to get any type of win they can. And a segment win is going to be the start of, the winning a race. But they're both on great teams. I mean, Suarez had a car that was, all but the championship car last year and team. And I don't know what all Eric Jones got. I mean, I know that there's a new team, but obviously in an established program and another Gibbs car. So it's hard to tell exactly what he'll do. But I think he's the more talented driver of those two.
Eric Jones is.
Right.
Yeah, I think I agree. I would have liked to have seen Suarez in the Xfinity Series for another year to fully get a feel for him and what he can do with another year of experience under his belt. But obviously the circumstances changed. He was able to move up, and we'll see what he's like in Cup. I don't see him making the playoffs just because Eric Jones just has that calmness, a lot like Chase Elliott does. That a lot of people said, boy, Chase shouldn't be doing as well as he is, but that kid is just so calm that things don't rattle him. And I think Eric has that same quality. I don't necessarily know that for Daniel Suarez, and I think that would be the deciding factor for me saying that. So I think Chad was enjoying a lube tube when he made that prediction. The next one, Kyle Larson makes the Final Four at Homestead. Again, we go back to our original conversation with him moving to Hendrick. I have a tough time pulling that trigger with him making the Final Four at Homestead when he has a tough time being able to finish races.
Well, this year is just going to be a little bit different with the point changes. He's a guy that runs good for 75% of the race. He might win a lot of segment 1s and a lot of segment 2s and have a bunch of bonus points that roll right along. So, I mean, he might have enough there that might carry him into the Final Four. Like I said, it's a brand new deal.
Yeah.
So who knows how much that's going to affect. It might turn around where you might be able to look back and go, that didn't make any difference at all.
Yeah.
All those segment wins didn't do anything for this guy. He's still back in 15th at the end of the year. So
next one, Kyle Busch wins the Daytona 500. It's a crapshoot, and personally, I'm putting my money on Brad Keselowski for today's race. What say you, Dirk? Kyle Busch winning the Daytona 500?
Well, obviously Dale's got a car that can run up front.
I'm sorry. You said something. I heard something else. Continue. My apologies.
Dale Earnhardt's got a car up front.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be hard to beat coming back this year. I think he's going to be out. I think he's going to do everything he can to win. Not that he didn't before, but after a half a year off, he wants to make a statement right off front. I'm back. Here I am.
Mm-hmm. Boy, would the black helicopter people be flying then if he won the Daytona 500 after his 18 race hiatus for injury. The black helicopters would be flying. Oh, my God, it's all fixed.
There'd be 24 more black helicopters if Daniel Suarez wins after Carl jumps out of the seat.
Maybe that's one of the shows we should do. What is the most logical conspiracy theory out there? Because actually that's a contradictory statement. But anyways.
Chad's number 3 is the most logical conspiracy theory out there.
You'll have to go to fantasytips.com and scroll down to the 10 bold predictions to find out what Chad's number 3 prediction is for the season. I don't know if I agree with that. I think, although he talks about said driver race in the Xfinity Series, which he spells out a very plausible situation, but I don't know. That's going to be curious. You're going to have to head to fantasyracingtips.com for more information on that. Again, 10 bold predictions for 2017. Make sure to subscribe to fantasyracingtips.com. Great information on that website. Chad offers up fantasyracingtips.com. He'll help you with your fantasy leagues. He'll help you win. You, with his help, could be hoisting that Pick'em's Contest trophy at the end of the year when we have the Homestead viewing party at Quaker Steak and Lube.
And also take a look at number 5, because that is definitely a possibility. I think he ate his Wheaties when he made that statement.
I think so. I'm with him on statement number 5 and number 9. Statement number 9. I'm with him on that one. I think
Absolutely.
I think that's
those
a safe
should have
one to
been
say.
almost 1 and 2.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back at turn number 4. We'll talk the Daytona 500 viewing party. We'll get you set for the Great American Race today. Everything you need to know, probably some things you don't need to know, but that's what we do best. We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Hi, this is Brad Keselowski, 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Turn number 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch. Make sure you head over to Quaker Steak and Lube today for the Daytona 500 party. Now, we're going to get there at about 11:30 and get set up. Coverage starts on Fox Sports at Fox at about noon to 12:30, and then the green flag is scheduled to be a little after 1 p.m. If you're a part of the Pick'em's contest, can't stress enough that you must have your picks in by 1 p.m. Central Time. The website that we use is in Eastern Time, so it has those times posted as 2 p.m. Eastern, but it is a 1 p.m. Eastern green flag, 1 p.m. Central green flag, so your picks must be in on time. But get over to Quaker Steak and Lube today. They've got some awesome specials available for you to be able to enjoy, including a compact bucket of wings and a domestic lube tube. This is my favorite special. Compact bucket of wings and a domestic lube tube, $27.95. If you want to enjoy just a domestic lube tube, it's $13. You can get $2 off of a full bucket of bone-in or breaded boneless wings. And then you can get Luberitas and Bloody Marys for $4. Also, there's going to be a cash prize of $100 for whoever can guess the winner of today's race. And that is in the Brickyard exclusively, those specials are.
I always like the part that you always get that lube tube and that half bucket of wings, and you eat like one wing, but the lube tube's all gone. I just don't how that balances out there.
Usually because the girlfriend eats the other wings.
There we go.
Gonna get in trouble for that one. Get over to Quaker Steak today for all the specials. It's gonna be a great day. We can't wait to see you over there. If you get there before 1 o'clock, we're gonna have a laptop set up so that you can get involved in the NASCAR Pools online contest, the Pick'em's contest presented by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners. He's supporting the contest this year. We greatly appreciate it. And then all race long, we'll be handing out prizes. We have autographed hero cards left over from our foot duties over the last 2 years. Autographed hero cards from Rodney Sanders, Jack Dover, Greg Satherley, Chad Simpson,
Got some
McKenna
Sammy
Haase,
Swindell in there, I think.
Yep.
Lasowski.
Joey Saldana, Brian Brown, Brendan Gaughan. I have one Brendan Gaughan left.
We play a lot of trivia on the yellow flags. We'll be playing some NASCAR trivia. We got a couple different games we work with, and give you a chance to win those prizes. Also,
that reminds me, I got to send the questions and answers over to you so that I can quit getting those wrong.
There we go. Just send me the math ones. That's the ones you have trouble with.
The one that trips me up the most.
But if you so enjoy pools, bring a couple $5 bills, because we usually end up filling a couple pools, and you end up getting 4 drivers. If you draw the number 1 in the pool, you get the pole position 11, 21, and 31. If you draw 8, you get 8, 18, etc. And don't be worried if you draw like 0 and start with 10, because as it happened at Homestead, at our Homestead party, the guy that won the race was number 40, Jimmy Johnson, because he had to go to the back.
Started 40th, yep. Other autographed items we have available: Bobby Pierce, Dylan Smith, Jesse Sobbing. I'm just thumbing through some of these that we've got. Alphabet Soup flyer from 2 years ago, the 14th annual Alphabet Soup, Friday, June 26th at I-80 Speedway, signed by Ryan Gustin, who is the car that is featured on that flyer. So we have a lot of awesome autographed items, including, Dirk, one of the things that you always do when we go to Iowa Speedway and Kansas Speedway is that you collect lug nuts from teams, and you've got a collection of lug nuts that you'll be giving away.
Yeah, and don't worry about the fact that they're not autographed, because I did try that once, and the guy looked at me and he goes, "Are you serious? You want me to try and sign this lug nut?" But they do have the track. They've got the car number on. They have the date. They are a race-used lug nut, unless anybody wants some Brad Keselowski brand new ones, because I asked one of his crew guys for some lug nuts, and he went over to the brand-new bucket and got me a handful, and I'm going, "Dude, these ain't race-used. They don't do me no good." But he couldn't hear me and walked away, so I was like, all right, threw them in the pile. But,
so that's all going on today. Here's the final details. Quaker Steak and Lube. You can get there at at your leisure, but we're going to be there at about 11:30. I'm going to get my laptop set up so that if you want to participate in the
you're
absolutely
going to get your
free,
lube tube set up is what you're going to get set up.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm there for the listeners. If you want to get involved in the free Pick'ems contest, we can get you signed up, which I still got to get you signed up, good sir. We'll get you signed up this morning. You'll pick your team name. You'll get involved in that. And then you'll pick your person, whoever you're taking for today's race, and then you'll be locked in to the contest. And again, we want to say thanks to Rick Havenridge at Wealth Partners for offering to pay any entry fees for that contest so that it can be free to all of you. And then he also offered to pay for a trophy for the champion at the end of the season. All race long, we're going to be handing out some great specials from Quaker Steak and Lube, and we're going to be throwing out some great prizes. And you might as well go over to Joe's. You're in the area. You've got yourself a great day of racing involved. And what is race day without a trip over to Joe's Karting? It's a lot of fun.
A little bit of warm-up.
Exactly.
Get that racing mentality
Get
going.
ready to go for that. Absolutely. Today at 11:30 will be a Quaker Steak and Lube. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined us today on the show. If you missed any part of today's show, make sure you head over to the Joe's Karting YouTube page at about 10 a.m. this morning. We'll have the show posted. Also, you can listen to last weekend's interview with Brendan Gaughan. And good luck to Brendan today on the Daytona 500. Great to see him involved and great to see him battling for that big trophy. Boy, what a coup that would be if Brendan could win the Daytona 500 today.
Oh, what would be even bigger is he won't even show up for the 500 as we pre-recorded. If he happens to win one of the twins on Thursday, he won't even show up for the 500.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I remember that interview, though, now that he said that if he won the Daytona 500, he may just retire right then and there.
Get out and drink a little champagne and walk away.
I changed my mind. I don't want him to win because I want to see him at Kansas and Iowa. I want to interview him and talk to him a couple more times before we end it. Thanks again to FantasyRacingTips.com, Chad Robb, for offering up the article of the 10 bold predictions of 2017.
And they are bold.
They are. If you want to get involved in the Front Stretch Pick'ems contest, email us, frontstretchradio@gmail.com, or head over to NASCARPoolsOnline.com. NASCARPoolsOnline.com, and you can get signed up for it. We'll get you information on that. Easiest way to do it, frontstretchradio@gmail.com, or swing by Quaker Steak and Lube today before 1 o'clock, and we can get you signed up for it.
Good luck to everybody getting involved with that.
For Dirk, I'm Dan Taylor. We'll do it all again next weekend with the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs is the high-octane excitement you've been looking for. It's the Metro's largest indoor track with eco-friendly, low-emission engines. You can enjoy fast-paced road course racing just across the river at Joe's Karting, located near Bass Pro in the Mid-America Center on 23rd Avenue and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Open Monday to Thursday, 2 to 10, Fridays until 11, Saturdays 11 to 11, and Sundays noon to 8.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.